First of all, I was blessed to be born from a mother who was formerly a nun. And she decided she had some questions that were unanswered. So she decided to leave the convent. She used to teach 50 students, 50 girls in the convent, and I have pictures of them which really impressed me. Which the hijab that she was wearing is like the hijab that our sisters wear, with the same style, with the bottom white piece and the black outer piece. I was like, wow, you know. But alhamdulillah, my mom, even though she left the convent, it doesn't mean that she left religion as a whole, because she brought us up waking up, saying our prayers, giving thanks to God for waking up, giving thanks to God before our meal, giving thanks to God before going to sleep, seeking protection from God, and you might know the rest. But being a Muslim, being a youth in America, and having parents that, mashallah, make the efforts to struggle for their children, but sometimes make the mistake thinking that the only responsibility that they have is to work and provide the sustenance needed for these children. And I ended up spending that portion of the time that a lot of youth spend unsupervised, which is the after school to like 7, when the parents are working. That's when the drama takes place. It's not at night. That's when it begins. So, when I was in high school, I was kind of gifted with having the ability to freestyle in Spanish. So I used to do Spanish rap. Before it became popular here, just to make it clear. It was popular in Puerto Rico, but not here. And I used to sing in the clubs and so on. And being in school, when we used to have study hall, my friends used to do the beats and I used to freestyle. While other guys used to have to spend a lot of time writing a song, and I had the ability to just freestyle. And being in high school, I got selected to play JV basketball and so on. And I always wanted my parents to come see the game. And because of their commitment, which at that time I didn't understand, and youth do not understand. When they want you to show up, you should show up. You should take the day off and show up. Because when that didn't happen, and even though I totally understand that my parents are working hard for us, to spoil us, but I didn't understand at that time. So in order to avoid the thought, looking and waiting to see the game start and my mom's not showing up, and I'm like, so then some of the drama began where, when you're in need, sometimes you have people give you advice or suggest things that are harmful. So somebody said, you know what, before the game, why don't we drink some Bacardi Limon, and we'll be all right, and we'll play. I was like, all right. So before every game, in the locker room, we used to drink and then play. So at that time, I was just not thinking about my parents didn't show up. So at first, it's just trying to escape the reality, not facing it, but you're a youth. And you need that support. And you need somebody to talk to. And the only one you have to talk to is friends who might have the same problems, or even worse. So, having a love for basketball, during that time, Michael Jordan retired. I was upset. So I'm like, who's going to be my favorite team now? So I'm like, all right, I like David Robinson. He he's disciplined and so on. But then I'm like, in that time we didn't have so many channels. In that time you only got to see the basketball team of your locality. Or maybe if you live in New Jersey, you see the Knicks. Right? So I'm like, man, nah, then I'm not going to watch. Then I saw this player who actually changed his name. He became Muslim. His name was Chris Jackson and became Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. And I used to collect cards. So in one of the cards, I read in the back the definition of his name. And it said that he became Muslim and he did pilgrimage and etc., etc. And sometimes they used to catch him making wudu before the game and so on. So these things kind of caught my attention, but I wasn't interested in Islam. It was just, I came in contact with it. Also, I said, I like the way he plays, so I began trying to mimic his game, like shooting outside shots and so on. And I thought, that's a little disappointing at the conference. Usually there's a late night basketball game where speakers go and vent, and sometimes school the young guys, but we didn't have that this year. So anyway, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf was, I couldn't watch many of his games. So most of the information I got it from the ESPN and so on. So then I said, you know what, I'm going to pick the Knicks. Because I was born in New York, so I'm going to represent, right? So I picked the Knicks. That year, the Knicks went to the finals versus the Houston Rockets. And then I said, so John Starks shot the three, got blocked, Knicks lost. Man, I used to hate Hakeem. But he was fasting during that time. So that caught my attention as well. So anyways, that was my first contact with Islam. But when I was in high school, I got involved in the gang life as well. I'm not going to say the name of the gang, because it's a big gang. And maybe those people that didn't know me back in the days, they might, out of ignorance, take my life. And I have too much, in my plate right now to take care of, which is serving the Muslim youth and doing da'wah, etc., that I don't want to put myself at risk. But when I was in this gang, I had a friend who actually was a valedictorian, but he was raised in a shelter. So one time he needed a place to stay, and I told my mom, this guy is a good guy, man. He likes to read and so on. Why don't you let him stay in my house? My mom said, all right. So he stayed in my house and he brought a box of books. And in this box of books, I saw the autobiography of Malcolm X. And I wasn't encouraged as a youth by my teachers to read or love reading. It was boring. So I didn't like it. But this time I was a little bit curious, because I had the experience in school when I once had a dream and I told my teacher told me, you're not going to make it. And I said, really? Straight up? I said, you're not going to make it. And I swear, she only lasted 1 year in school. Every day was hardship. Every day, yeah. I'm just being honest, So, when I was involved in this, with this brother, this friend of mine, or this brother from the gang, we went to a library. And as we got the maximum amount of books that we could check out, we were walking out and we came across the Quran, right? And my friend said, oh man, I want to read the Quran, but I can't check it out. I already checked out the books and so on. So he's like, I'm like, you know what? You want it? I'll take it. It's all right. So I'll take it. So, it wasn't a pocket Quran. Just let me make it clear. It's just I had some skills. So I ended up taking the big Abdullah Yusuf Ali with the Arabic, English, and commentary. And I took it from the library. And then, just for my friend, this because I was real, so I had to do it for him. You know, he wanted to read it. So then he left my house and he left the Quran. So the only thing Islamic in my house is the Quran. So then a year took place where two of my close friends from this group who were real, they got killed by same gang members. I was with them on a Sunday, and the next day I see them on the news. They got killed, and they got stepped on their faces. So I was like, you know, if these guys were real, and this happened to them, it can happen to me. So I said, so then I totally lost trust in the only people I used to trust, that I supposedly would have given my life for, that I sacrificed jobs and so on for them. And I said, if they did that to my friends, they could do it to me. So I said, nah. So then I'm like, I lost trust in all human beings. I mean, my parents, I trust them, but they didn't have the experience of the streets, so they couldn't get me out of it. So then I'm like, I'm looking. And sometimes my friends used to do things that they didn't tell me. So I end up coming out of my house, all of a sudden get snatched up by the police. You robbed the house. I'm like, well, I just woke up. You know that you dropped out, you're not in school. What time you wake up? If you're hanging out at night, you wake up like at 1, 2, 12, you know, right? So I'm like, I just woke up. Said, no, get in the car. So it was like an everyday thing. My three thoughts were, am I going to die today? Am I going to catch a disease today? Or is my mother going to get hurt because of me, because of the label that I carry?